I'm laughing at myself because I'm on live on Facebook and on Instagram at the same time. On Instagram, there are no filters. I'm sat in front of this, which is our DIY arrangement for our tortoise. But on Facebook, I've got like a brick wall background, which I'm enjoying. But when I move out of focus, it cuts off my face off. I mean, I can't win. Maybe I should think about setting up a bit more of a professional setup, given that I go live fairly regularly. I only recently invested in a webcam. Anyway, I can see that people are joining me already on that there Instagram. If you're joining me on Facebook, hey, drop me some likes, some comments. The algorithm on Facebook is messing with me right now. And if you're in my group, particularly if you're Lindsay and you're here, that would be amazing. Someone's just decided to tell me that swearing doesn't offend me. People's behaviour and standards do. Okay, cool. Oh, it's Kevin. Hello, Kevin. So yeah, I was like, what? Where's that come from? Oh, I can see that Lindsay is here. Lindsay, will you post this in the group for me? Because the settings won't let it. Oh, I am. I'm in the group. Okay, amazing. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Heidi Mavir. I'm the founder of EO Task Matters. I'm the author of the Sunday Times bestseller, Your Child Is Not Broken. And sometimes I come here and here, Instagram and Facebook, and tell you about stuff. So for the next couple of days, we're just talking a bit about our Unstoppable Parent Programme, which starts on the 11th of April. The doors are now open. They close at midnight on Thursday. So you've got 2.5 days left to join. I remember, Kevin, I remember you. We met in Barnsley, I think. Each day for a couple of days, I'm going to come live and talk a little around some of the main themes that we cover in Unstoppable Parent to give you a bit of a feel for whether you think the programme might be right for you. So let me give you the quick elevator pitch. Unstoppable Parent is a 5-week trauma-informed programme for parents and carers in neurodivergent households who need to do life differently. We've run this for 2 years. I run it with Kate Jones, who is a neurodivergent psychotherapist. She is also Chief Comms Officer at Neuroplastic, which is the biggest autistic-led nonprofit on the planet. And she's my person. She's one of my closest people. Even though we hardly ever are in the same room at the same time, she's my person because the TISM means that's how friendships work. So we run it twice a year. So far, we've had over 250 families through the programme. This is the last time we're running it live. The programme will be available, but it'll be in a different format, and we won't be running it as a live cohort going forward. So this is the last time. Nat's saying Unstoppable Parent is absolutely amazing for us. Parent carers loved it. Thank you so much. Awesome. If you want to find out what people think of it, like there are some reviews on the page, but also if you go into my group, you'll see people talking about it. I have no problem with you reaching out to people who have done the program. This is like my signature program, and the reason it exists is because one of the things I've spoken about quite openly is that when we headed into the crisis that we hit as a family, when my son crashed out of school, was in mental health crisis, we then discovered that he was neurodivergent, and so was I. Over the past 5 years, we've gone from thinking that we were a fairly standard family to knowing that we are neurodivergent. We're both diagnosed autistic ADHD. He also has a tic disorder. I have a fairly complex mental health history because if you get to 45 and you don't know you're autistic, that kind of fucks with you. So one of the things, like I set up EO Task Matters to support parents and carers who need to navigate the EHCP system, particularly those people who have children or young people with barriers to attendance. But one of the things that was absolutely missing that I really needed was help with understanding how to be what lots of professionals tell us we need to be, which is resilient. I hate the word resilience. I much prefer the word tenacity. But regardless, I didn't know how to do that for myself. I didn't know how to powerfully advocate for my child. I didn't know how to take care of myself and my well-being. I didn't know what self-care could and should and can look like when you're a neurodivergent household. I didn't know anything about trauma responses. I didn't really know about stress. I didn't know about fight, flight, and freeze responses. And I was fighting blind. And a lot of our parents and carers, it's not the practical stuff that they need the most help with. It's this. So it's not a therapy session. It's not 5 weeks of therapy, but it is a therapeutic program that I have intentionally written with a really experienced psychotherapist, where we look at the things that crop up in neurodivergent households. So we talked yesterday, we look at boundaries, we look at saying no, we look at why that's so difficult for many of us and what that means when you're advocating for your child. We look at stress responses. We're a trauma-informed program. I'm a trauma-informed, accredited trauma-informed practitioner. Kate has over 15 years experience of working in psychotherapy with neurodivergent people, families and young people. And so we brought that together, and we do a whole load of stuff on helping you to understand stress responses and what trauma does in the body and in the brain. So that we are really coming at it from a place of, given what you've got going on, given the circumstances, the situation, the place you find yourself, it makes total sense that you would feel like your brain is on fire. What are we going to do to support that? So that's what Unstoppable Parent does. There's a comment here from somebody. I don't know who it is. It might be Sharon. It says, if you sign up, I bet you won't regret it. The course was a gift to myself that led me to a community of people that are now some of my closest friends. Kate and Heidi get it, and how to unravel the chopstick in your head so that you can process and begin to heal, which means you can move forward. It's Helen. I should have known it was you, my love. So what we do in Unstoppable Parent, we're together for 5 weeks. Every Thursday evening, we get together live on Zoom. Kate and I will deliver a piece of training around some of the 5 core areas that we talk about. I'm going to talk about one in just a second. If you want to go back and watch yesterday's video, I talked about boundaries yesterday. So we dig into one of those themes each week. We have a private Facebook community where you can talk that out with other members of the cohort. We also have additional community Zoom sessions. We have a guest. We have Jem Kennedy, who's a trauma-informed EFT tapping practitioner. She comes and does a session on regulating your nervous system for you. It's a freaking great session. Jem is like a calming balm for your heart and your soul. Also neurodivergent. And we also cover, and we also have an online library, so you can go back and access the trainings whenever you need. Every training has a workbook. Yes, tapping, EFT tapping. I'll talk about that maybe in one of my lives, but not today. And we bring you together, and you're in community with other parents and carers who have that shared lived experience. So yeah, so we do that together for 5 weeks. And one of the things I want to talk to you about today was one of the themes of one of the sessions, which is rejection sensitivity and self-talk. Like that inner chatter, that internal monologue that tells you what a wanker you are, and what a terrible human being you are, and how everybody is going to hate you forever and you're going to die alone. That voice. But what we do is we're really keen on not turning on ourselves. So we're really keen on examining where that comes from and what that means in a neurodivergent home, how that plays into the dynamics in your home, what effect that has on your relationships inside your household, but also your interactions outside your household. We know from our parents and carers in our community is that, everybody hates you. That's absolutely true. I'm responding to a message on Instagram. Everybody hates you. Everybody hates me. Everybody hates us. It's not true. But our little voice in our head tells us that it's true. So we're really keen on, instead of like being angry with that part of ourselves, working out where that's coming from, what that means, and how to soothe that, and how to actually get curious about what's going on when we're having those moments of negative self-talk. One of the things that we are really keen on helping people understand is that as parents and carers in neurodivergent households, we will be more triggered by things that maybe other people wouldn't be, because of our lived experience and or because of our neurodivergence, whether that's recognised or not. And rejection sensitivity is something that has plagued me my whole, I was going to say adult life, but my whole life. So I know that lots of us experience negative self-talk, and I know that lots of us have that internal monologue, that internal chatter that is quite unpleasant and can be really harmful. For those of us who experience rejection sensitivity, that can be doubly dangerous and doubly hurtful. So what that means for me personally is that whenever I experience anything, that even positive experiences, my internal system turns it into rejection, and I have a sensory experience and a central nervous experience that basically triggers my fight response and my stress responses, so that I'm in a constant state of hypervigilance, and I'm in a constant state of cortisol coursing through my veins, feeling like I'm under attack. And it also means that it's very difficult to see the wood for the trees when you're in that response. So Doris is saying, I need to work with you. I'm going to check the payment plan and see if I can invest in myself whilst getting my boiler fixed. Send me a message. We'll sort it out. It would be lovely to have you, my love. Yeah, and this person says, and if you're lucky to get diagnosed with that as neurodivergent without paying thousands for an assessment, right? We honour self-ID in our programs, and if you feel that your brain is wired differently or not, but particularly if you are someone who feels that they're wired differently, then you come on in. We're not going to ask you for a piece of paper to prove that a doctor agreed with you. That's not how this works. So understanding what rejection sensitivity does in our relationships, in our interactions, in our everyday lives, is a massive piece for parents and carers. And it's a piece that if we can model to our children, understanding what that means, we will equip them better for adulthood. Because the fact is, the reason that rejection sensitivity exists is because as people who have been raised as people pleasers, which is what happens to many of us, and particularly neurodivergent people, we are detached from our own sense of our own confidence in ourselves, our own, when we have that inner voice that says to us, you're a piece of shit, we don't have the counteractive voice that says, no, don't be silly, that's ridiculous. We know logically that if someone else spoke to us the way our inner voice spoke to us, we would probably have something to say about it. Or if someone else spoke to our best friend the way that our inner voice spoke to us, we would definitely have something to say about it. But this doesn't operate from a place of logic. So the work that Kate and I do in Unstoppable Parent is helping us to unpick, right? So we're not in the logic space. We're not just going to tell our internal voice to shut up and sit down. We're going to really get clear about what that means for us, what that inner voice is actually telling us. And we start with regulation. So we start with going back to, what do we need to do for ourselves to be able to dig into that part of us that may never have been activated, where we're able to say to ourselves, no, that's not true. We're a good person. Good, inverted commas, or we have value, or we are valid, or we deserve to not feel like crap about ourselves. Where do we reconnect with that place? And part of it is understanding those triggers, how rejection sensitivity plays out for us, how we've been masking, which is often where rejection sensitivity really finds the chink in our armor. If we've been masking and we've not been able to ask for what we need and articulate and advocate for ourselves clearly, if we've not been able to set boundaries, we arrive in adulthood like not able to unpick some of this stuff, not able to speak up for ourselves, not able to take care of ourselves. I'm going to answer this in a minute. Someone says, I've put myself in social situations that have been too much for me, overloaded me, stressed me out, and I've tried to mask and I just can't do it anymore. I largely avoid them. I hear you, Kev. I hear you. And also you are entitled and you are allowed to find other ways to get your needs met. We don't all have to be the life and soul of the party. Someone once said to me, people who are, who don't feel triggered by social situations and who don't have to mask, they might enjoy a 2,500 people rave. And actually, ADHDers might enjoy that. But for me, I'd rather have a 2-man tent party. Like for me, I need to not have overhead sound because my auditory processing is stuffed, and I need to be alongside someone else, probably scrolling on my phone, having a deep and meaningful conversation with them without making eye contact. That's where my connection comes from. So it's about understanding that for ourselves and knowing how to advocate for ourselves. Someone says, what if my inner voice is right though? What, that you're a wanker and everyone hates you and you're a terrible human? Then the work to do is, what do you do to be okay with that? Like, if you are a wanker and everyone hates you and you're a terrible human, then there's an acceptance that comes with that. I suspect your internal voice is not right. But also, knowing that and feeling that are two very different things. And regardless of what your internal voice is telling you, regardless of how triggered your rejection sensitivity is, the job is not to shut down that internal voice or even to ignore it. The job is to self-soothe whilst we're sitting with it. So that's what we cover in Unstoppable Parent when we talk about rejection sensitivity and self-talk. If you've read my book, you'll know that I refer to my internal chatter as Nigel. He is a little monkey, literally. And when I first started running Unstoppable Parent, we used to do quite a lot of like, let's tell Nigel to do one. We're a little bit kinder to Nigel now because Nigel is part of me. And Nigel is a part of me that's trying to keep me safe. And Nigel has learned by experience and also internalized crappy things that other people have said to me and internalized the rejection I felt when people haven't meant to say crappy things, but I felt crappy about it. Nigel has this whole bank of like interesting and useful things he can say to me to keep me safe. Nigel's only concern is like, Nigel would be happy if I spent my life in the corner under a blanket with people just bringing me 3 meals a day. Now, sometimes that really appeals, but I've got shit to do, Nigel. So when we are in Unstoppable Parent, we talk about, okay, so Nigel does get to be in the car, but he doesn't get to touch the radio and he definitely doesn't get to drive. So that's one of the things that we tackle in Unstoppable Parent. So I hope this has given you a little bit of an insight into some of the things we might be working on together. As I've said, this is not a promise of a miracle, like you're going to come out of 5 weeks later and you're going to be a different person. We don't want you to be a different person. That's not what this is about. We want you to be in community with other parents where you can give yourself an hour a week to think about the bigger stuff, to give yourself some me time, inverted commas. And for parents and carers, that's something that doesn't happen. So we, you know, if for no other reason that we are together in community, like even if we're not communicating, like we're just around other people knowing that we're not on our own, then I think for some of us in the Unstoppable Parent cohort, that is the most valuable. I'm going to talk about community tomorrow in some more detail, I hope. And then on Thursday evening at 8 o'clock, before cart closes for Unstoppable Parent, Kate Jones, who is my person, is going to join me for the live over on Facebook. I don't know if we'll be able to do it on Instagram at the same time. I'm going to have to work that out, how you do a joint live on Instagram. Lindsay McGlone is going to have to tell me how to do that. But yeah, so I hope this has been helpful. If you want to come and join us for Unstoppable Parent, I would love to have you. We start on the 11th of April. Doors close on Thursday night. The cost of the course is $179 for 5 weeks. You can split that in 2 payments if that makes it more affordable for you. So you make a payment now and a payment in 4 weeks' time. Included in the course, you get the weekly trainings, you get a Facebook community, you get access to all of the trainings and replays in your online library, which is password protected. We keep the Facebook group open afterwards so that you can continue to be in community with the rest of the cohort. We've done that for all of our cohorts. So we have little pop-up groups for Unstoppable Parents where they are, and like I know that that's where like genuine friendships are forged. And we also give you a month free in the Marble Run, and the Marble Run is my membership, my online membership for parents and carers in neurodivergent households. There's over 300. I mean, we're working towards that. There's over 40 hours worth of training in there on everything from EHCPs to neurodivergent parenting to PDA to barriers to attendance to mental health. It's all in there with resources for all of them. And in with the Marble Run, you also get a monthly Q&A, a monthly guest spot, and we do a fortnightly Get Shit Done session where we body double together. Is the cost and the cost on a web page that you can share? Yes. I can't share this on Instagram. I don't know why. I do know why. It's because I don't know how to do it. But if you go to my bio, wherever you are watching, if you're watching on Facebook, the link is in the description of this video. If you're watching on Instagram, there's a link in my bio and also on my Facebook. Just click through, click Unstoppable Parent. You can see all the details. You can see how to join, when to join, how to pay, all that good stuff. I would love to have you. As I've said, it's the last time we're running it live. So this will be a pretty special cohort, I think. If the time isn't right for you, that's totally cool. If this doesn't resonate with you, that's also totally cool. Bless you, person there. Unexpected Home Ed. I wish I could remember your name. I know your name, but I can't even remember. Thank you for posting that in the comments on Instagram. If this is not for you, that's totally fine. If it's just not the right time, also totally fine. I hope you found this valuable. Thank you for joining me. If you think other people may benefit, give this a quick cheeky share. And if you're joining us for Unstoppable Parent, make sure you do that before midnight on Thursday. I will be here again tomorrow for a chat. And tomorrow, I can't decide whether tomorrow I'm going to talk about community or choices. Let me know what your preference would be. Actually, I think we might talk choices tomorrow, and then we'll talk about community when I've got Kate with me on Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your morning, or not. I'm not the boss of you. And I hope I will see you over in Unstoppable Parent if that feels like a good fit for you. See you all later. Bye-bye. As if I just said bye-bye. What a wanker internal chatter.